Hey guys, this is Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge. This video is going to cover 3 different things, I think, maybe more. We'll see. First off is who's the Patreon winner for the end of January. So I've got a group of knives. I think I got 6 or 7 of them right there. I'll give you a picture on the tabletop. The winner will be able to pick one of those, and I'll probably throw in something else besides as well. All of those knives, except for one, were knives that were reviewed in January, and that's the way I do it. The winner is anybody who sponsors me on Patreon for $2 a month or more gets to be entered into the draw. I have 19 Patreon supporters, one of whom doesn't want to be in the draws. So from 18 Patreon supporters, I went to Google, I typed in random number, and they've got a random number generator. Pick between 1 and 18 inclusive and hit generate number 21. My Patreon list of supporters from Patreon, the way they list them, from top down, number 2 is Cole Kahn. And I've got your address. You might want to check on Patreon, verify, unless you're 100% confident that's your address. I'll use the address on there to send you your gift. So here's the list that you can choose from. We've got this funky fixed blade. If you want this one, especially since I've got 2 of them, I can still do that custom work on one of them if I want to. That guy, or you can pick from these 2. This SANRENMU, the 7130, is from, I think, December, but I'll let you choose that one if you want. Or the 7132. This Gerber, HX Outdoors ZD-013, this Decepticon 1 Imposter, Firebird F761, or this Fura copper-colored one, or this Fura, I forget what the number on this one is, or this CT Smart is the other option, and that claims to be D2. And there you go. Pick from one of those, and I'll probably send you a surprise as well. Thank you very much for helping me out, helping this channel an awful lot. Every single one of you Patreon supporters makes a big difference. Thank you very, very much. So that's the first thing. Thank you very much to all my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Cole happens to be one of those supporters who supports me at $5 a month. Thank you very much. That didn't change the random numbers, but that's the way it is. There's 2 of you who sponsor me that generously, or is it 3 now? Very generous. Thank you so much. And anybody can go into Patreon and help sponsor the channel. It really does help me out. And once a month, it draws a donation out of your account the way you set it up, and it helps my channel out. And it really makes a difference for me. And now let's go on to the other things that I want to cover. So I'd like to give you just a little bit of an update on what's going on with the channel. The SANRENMU counterfeit thing, I still think that I'm on the right direction with what I was saying. Some people didn't quite understand what I was trying to say in parts of the video. Maybe I just wasn't quite clear enough. Hopefully if you watch it again, you can catch what I'm saying. When I'm saying, the big fat chubby characters, if they're all by themselves on a knife and that's the entire logo, that's real. I've got knives like that I'm totally convinced are 100% genuine from SANRENMU. It's only when they use those chubby letters and that flying R thing together, that's when I think it's going to be a fake, because that fake, the only knife I have that has that, and I have had way over 100 SANRENMUs. Right now, I have over 80 SANRENMUs in my possession, and I've checked every single one of them. And they all either only have the chubby letters with nothing else, or they have the straight, narrow letters and the flying R together. When those are together, genuine. When it's just the fat letters, genuine. When it's the fat letters and the flying R together, the only time I've ever seen that together is on that one knife. SANRENMU still hasn't gotten back to me. I've contacted them, attempted to contact them many times. They keep changing their email address. They keep changing their website. They keep changing their contact information. They used to talk to me, but they haven't spoken with me via email for over about almost a year and a half now. And I keep trying, and I've tried with multiple addresses of mine, multiple addresses of theirs. And I really wish they would answer and clarify it. But that knife that I believe is fake, I could be wrong. I'm willing to admit it if, you know, somebody shows me evidence that I'm wrong. But that knife is low quality. It's made differently than any other SANRENMU I own. And the naming conventions on there are different than any I've seen. Some people are saying it might be old new stock. Maybe. I'm open to that possibility. I just doubt it seriously. I really seriously doubt it. Unless the older stock of SANRENMU was much worse quality builds, because it really is a poorly built knife, the one I have. So that's where I am with that. I tried doing a cut test. You know, Peter over at Cedric and Ada Outdoors, well, he does cut tests of knives, and he uses rope, and he cuts and sees how well it takes an edge. Well, I want to do that too, especially because since I focus on budget knives, there's an awful lot of companies out there that make knives, and we can't always be sure that what they're claiming for the steel type is really the steel type. And so I want to test knives like this one. This is a Spyderco Resilience, just like the Tenacious, but bigger. And this thing's got 8CR13 MOV, and I was going to test to see how well it takes an edge. Sharpen it to 1,000 on my TS Prof system, and then start cutting. Well, I bought some rope for it. This is 1/4-inch manila rope. I was under the impression that manila rope and sisal rope are very similar in terms of how rough they are on edges. Well, 210 cuts later, the edge is still fairly sharp where I was cutting. And I focused my cutting in that one spot over and over and over. And yeah, it's still fairly sharp. So 210 cuts to make 8CR13 not dull yet. That's not going to be a good test, because on the really good steels, I'm going to be having to do like 600-700 cuts. No way I can handle that, especially with my arthritis. I really couldn't do a lot of it this time. So I'm going to have to find a different rope, different material, something I can cut through that I'm going to be able to get a lot of the product and be able to do consistent tests on. So I'm talking with Peter again. Maybe I'll buy some thicker sisal rope. Maybe I can find some at Home Depot, Canada. That's a reasonable price. We'll see. So that's what I really want to do, especially with those Fura knives that claim to have S35VN, that claim to have D2 and other ones. And does it really have that steel? Everybody's asking those questions, and I haven't been able to give great answers. So I want to test them and make sure. Where else is the channel going for the rest of this year? I might have to slow down on some of my reviews. I don't know. It all depends on what's going to be happening with CBSA confiscating knives. I just got a notice yesterday of 2 more knives that they have stopped, and they're going to continue stopping them. Like in 2016, I had 14 or 15, I think it was 14 knives taken by them. And when I price it out, for me, the number of knives that I get in and at their price points and stuff, it's still a whole lot cheaper getting the knives from GearBest and other places than it is to try to buy them just in Canada. Even if they took 20 knives a year from me, it still would be a whole lot cheaper the way I'm buying them from China. And so hopefully that encourages you to keep on buying them from China as well, even though some of your knives have a good chance of being confiscated. The percentage, the odds are going to be very low. My odds are less than half of 1% of the knives that get confiscated in the last 2 years. So not a problem at all. I can lose those knives and still keep going because it's so much cheaper buying them from there. And a lot of those budget knives just aren't available in Canada. Since most of my viewers are not Canadians, most of my viewers, highest percentage is Americans, so 60%. And then I've got Germany and UK, they're trying to run neck and neck for viewerships. And then I've got about 20% of my viewers are Canadians. And so I'm going to keep trying to get knives as long as I possibly can from places like GearBest and others. And I encourage you to do the same, because the more of us who keep buying knives from overseas, or down south from the United States, the more knives we have coming in, the less of them from the total that CBSA can test and take. Because if we keep doing a lot of packages through, they have a finite number that they can check. So if they can check 100 packages a month, I know that's not a real number, it's just an estimate. If Canadians only buy 200 packages worth a month, they can check half of them. But if we can buy 5,000 packages worth a month, then they're checking like half a percentage of them, half of 1%, or whatever the math is. You know what I'm getting at. So the more of us who keep buying knives, I'm speaking directly to Canadians right now, from overseas, please drum up your courage to be able to do it. Of course, do the math what's right for you. If you only buy 1 or 2 knives a year and your budget is super tight and you just can't take the risk, hey, I totally understand. That makes sense to me. But if you're an aficionado and you're buying a more significant number of knives, do the math and see, with the savings that you're getting, how frequently you can have a knife taken from you and it still be cheaper to buy them from overseas. I think you're going to find that you can buy a whole lot of knives and save some money still, even if CBSA is taking more knives than they used to. And very briefly, my fellow Canadians, what do you do if CBSA stops a knife? First thing that's going to happen is they will send you a letter. And the letter will look like this. You won't get the green part. That's just covering my address. So it'll look like this. Notice of detention, it says. And here it says, to determine admissibility. And up here, it's going to say, 1 folding knife, 2 folding knife, 3 folding knife, however many you have ordered that are in that package that they're checking out. Advice: don't order more than 2 knives in 1 package. I know it's going to save you a little bit of shipping. The smaller the package is physically, and the lower the value of the package, the higher the odds that it'll go through without getting checked out by CBSA. But if it gets checked out, this is what you'll get. And you're going to go, what do I do now? And you're going to feel panicky, and you're going to feel stressed out, and you're going to feel angry. Yes, angry. I just got this yesterday. I got 2 of them. And the next step for me on this, since I'm familiar with the process, is to wait. So I twiddle my thumbs, and in 2 or 3 weeks, I will get another letter telling me that they have confiscated my knives, and they'll give the reason why. It'll either be centrifugal deployment of the blade, or now it's going to be one of their new reasons that they have come up with recently. And they're going to tell me that I have 3 options. Option number 1, do nothing. They claim that in 90 days they will destroy the knife. That's option 1. Option number 2, you can appeal. Don't appeal. Absolutely everybody who has appealed loses their appeal. And if you lose the appeal, you have lost every chance of getting that knife back ever. It's gone. If you've got money and you think you've got a really good lawyer and you've got a really good case against them, which you probably don't for the way they think, because it won't go to the courts. It'll go to the Canadian International Trade Tribunal, and they've got a history of backing up CBSA at every turn. And it's just another government organization. It is not the law that you can appeal to, which is unfortunate, but that's the way our system works. So you won't win an appeal. Your third option is that you can have that knife shipped out of Canada, anywhere, to anyone, out of Canada, at your expense, from CBSA office, with the item labeled as a dangerous good. You'll have to find the carrier who's willing to accept a dangerous good and ship it out of Canada. I have never chosen that route because I've looked into it and it's just too expensive for the knives that I get. So I've got, say, a $25 knife, $30 knife. I looked it up. Shipping the knife out is going to cost more than the knife is worth. So there's no advantage for me getting it shipped out. So I just abandon the knives. And that's what I do. If the knife is worth money to you, let's say it's a $200, $300, $400 knife, yeah, go ahead and pursue getting it shipped out of Canada. I cannot help you with that, and I will not help you with that. But one thing I have found, CBSA agents, if you phone them at the number, if you speak nicely to them, they will help you. The frontline staff over there, they're just following their orders. They're confiscating the knives that they are told to confiscate. I don't blame the frontline CBSA agents. They're just doing their job the way they're being told to do their job. If you want to talk to them, go ahead and call them up. Ask them very nicely what's happening. If you call them at this first stage, they're going to tell you, I don't know what's going on, because it hasn't been checked yet. It is to determine admissibility. It hasn't been officially inspected yet. So at this stage, they won't be able to help you. One of the worst things that I really dislike is they don't tell you what the knife is. So if you're a guy like me and I order several times a week, or I have knives coming in several times a week, I have no idea which knife that's going to be. And if I call them up, they won't tell me. So I have to wait until the last letter that I get once they tell me that they've officially taken it. And then if it's not clear which knife it is, I call them up and I ask them for some more information. And I have to sometimes dig and prod and gently get them to give me the information, because I want to know which knife they've taken away from me, right? So there you go. So that's what's going on with the channel. That's my advice for today. Thank you for watching my channel a lot. And remember, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.